Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, there are additional chairs over in those cubbies. If you want to pull those chairs over, fine. You know, or if you want to lean against the counter, that's fine too. We're going to get started in just a minute.
Right.
Hi, Jeff.
It's a big man.
Are you good? All right. I want to thank everybody that is here tonight. Appreciate you coming. You know, I know you have interest in girls wrestling. A lot of people had a lot of questions. So the intent of tonight is to let you know where we are, where we're headed, what we've got to do, those types of things. So I put together some FAQs there, which cover a lot of the basic stuff. But I'm going to go over a few things. Okay, first of all, this is what the map was where Indiana and Virginia were transitioning, and Delaware, Vermont, and Mississippi were not sanctioned. We now have gotten the level 2 sanction, so we're in the process of getting there. And we're going to talk about what we got to do to get there. All right, let me go ahead and introduce a couple people. I'd like to recognize Mike Boyer. He's the National Wrestling Coaches Association Executive Director. He's with us this evening. Vic Leonard, who was the founder of the Beast of the East and the Girls Beast. He's a board member for Delaware Wrestling Alliance and the State Wrestling Committee. I'd like to introduce Jeff Stevenson back here. Jeff is the USA Delaware Wrestling Guru, I guess. He's in charge, what?
State chairman.
State chairman.
And
all right.
DIAA board member.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. All right. And then Brandy Dolt, where's Brandy? If you would, Brandy sitting back here. Brandy is from Cesar Rodney. She is the USA Women's Coordinator working with Jeff, trying to help coordinate girls tournaments, girls practices, and then all the stuff along with the girls, because it's a big job for anybody to do all of it. And that's what we've got to try to share the workload and get these people involved and other people involved, try to make it happen. Marvin Dooley is here. He is the president of the Delaware Officials Association. Mike Hartnett here's with him as a former, you were officer before, right?
I'm the assigner.
You're the designer now. So, you know, they're here to talk about what we've got to do along with the officiating. So, let me pull up a slide here. All right, so we've got the welcome. We've already talked about what are the big goals. Obviously, the big goal is going to be to get Delaware girls fully sanctioned, level 3, so that we have a girls individual state tournament. Ultimately, the desire is to be able to have the girls tournament and boys tournament at the same time, like they did in Pennsylvania, but it's going to take time to get to that. How much time, I don't know. Depends how hard we all work and how many girls come out and so forth. What does level 2 mean? I'll go over that in a minute. The current operational status, a lot of that has to do with what's in the FAQs of how we're going to operate and what we're going to do. I invited Dave Baylor to be here this evening, and he had a conflict, so he could not be here, but he is very much supportive of girls wrestling and wants it to get established, and he wants to be flexible with the girls wrestling so that we can grow it, all right? What I mean by that is girls that want to wrestle on the boys teams can wrestle on the boys teams if they want. If they don't feel they're going to be challenged wrestling other girls, okay? Because they want to challenge themselves and go on. But if the girls only want to wrestle girls, if the parents only want their daughters to wrestle other girls, we have to provide avenues for that to happen. So how can we do that? Again, I'm going to get into that. All right. What are the requirements, to be a recognized sport? Well, we are recognized now as level 2, but we're going to have to start getting more girls involved. How many girls make a team? It can be any number of girls can be on a team. Okay. We have to create a girls wrestling committee because it's a separate sport. Boys wrestling committee cannot dictate to the girls what they have to do. We can help. We can have carryover, we can have members on both committees, but there's got to be a girls' committee that moves this thing forward. When does it have to be in place? Probably by next fall would be fine. But that means people have to step up. There has to be a committee chair. There has to be representatives from different counties. There has to be representatives from the school. Athletic directors, we try to get them involved so they know what's going on, so on and so forth. Like Marvin is also the athletic director of Woodbridge. He's on the state wrestling committee. We have Jeff Hughes, who's the athletic director at Del Castle. So we have two athletic directors representing upstate and downstate on our wrestling committee, so that they can go back and communicate to their athletic directors what's going on. But, all right, so again.
Buddy, question
yes.
real quick. Should we have a representative on the state wrestling committee for girls wrestling?
Say that again?
Should we have a representative from the girls community on the wrestling committee?
On the boys?
If it's going to be separate, boys and girls, you mean?
Well, they said it has to be a separate committee, but there can be overlap, that members can be on both. So there are members from the boys committee that can be on there to help guide and so forth, but
And vice versa?
or vice versa if there's people that want to get on and the openings come up, okay? There were 3 openings this year on the state wrestling committee first for a while, and we announced them at the state individual tournament. Ron Eby has retired from the committee, Pete Parlett has retired from the committee, and John Rusnick has retired from the committee. Between the 3 of them, they have over 60 years that they put in to the wrestling committee, and they've served on it since the late 60s and so forth. So they have put their time in with wrestling, and they have retired now. So we now have approved. Hold on, let me get my head together. I'm switching gears. We approved Joe Booth from Sussex County, Jody Wilson from Kent County, and Greg Spear, used to be the coach at Tower Hill from Newcastle County. So we got 3 new members that are going to be on the committee starting this summer and the fall. But what does the committee got to do? They've got to schedule for next season what they want to happen. I personally would like to see a minimum of at least 6 events for the girls to participate in. Boosters, workers, and organization have to set up and run the events. Okay? Hopefully schools will hire a girls coach or an assistant coach specifically designed to the coach the girls to retain, okay, recruit and coach the girls. It could be volunteer coaches, okay? So if there's any parents that we know that want to get involved, that can talk to the athletic directors, can talk to the current coach. All right, let me talk about St. George's first. We have Eustace here. Where's Beezer? Okay, Beezer's right here. Okay, so Eustace is a former coach at Red Lion. He is a teacher at St. George's, and Dave Williams said, "Hey, Beezer, you want to go ahead and take the girls over?" So basically, they grew from like 4 or 5 girls last year to 18 girls this year. And that's because they had someone that really paid attention to them, concentrated on them, trying to take them to tournaments, trying to coach them. Now, they could have common practices, they could have separate practices. It depends from school to school what they're going to do, but St. George's was very successful this year, and I hope 4 or 5 other schools this coming year can get 10 or 12 girls out and start to build the number of girls. And then, a year or so, start trying to have dual meets, okay? It may not be perfect to match up 12 weight classes, and the 12 weight classes are listed in the FAQs there. We approved this 12 weight classes for the girls a couple years ago when we approved the new boys weight classes. So we chose 12 because we knew it was going to be tough to get 14. So we said here's going to be the 12 we're going to use, and we did that number to start. But between the schools, the volunteers, and so forth, what I encourage parents to do is to talk to the current head coach, talk to the AD, volunteer or talk to the principal and say, hey, we don't want to be behind the 8 ball as this grows. DIAA has approved it. We're going to try to make it happen. And we don't want to be one of the last schools to do it, like we were one of the last states to do it. But, you know, we want our school to try to get these girls out there. And unless the girls get the love and get the attention and get somebody to recruit them, retain them, and so forth, then it's not going to happen. The example I use there is we in Penn had 6 girls come out at the beginning of the year. At the end of the year, they had 1. That's because there was a lack of competition, a lack of focus on the girls, you know, a lack of opportunities to get in there and wrestle. So their job is to make sure that we create a certain number of events. If it happens to be every other Sunday that we have tournaments somewhere, you know, then that, so be it. And then try to go to out-of-state tournaments, you know, when they're available. Okay, the officials, okay, we have the officials here. As part of this, I had to submit some information to DIAA about who's going to officiate, who's going to do this. So the Delaware wrestling officials will be the officials that will be used. As far as a fee structure of how they're going to do it and so forth, they've been very kind and generous the past 4 years that they volunteered their services for the tournament we've had at Smyrna here. But you know, that's going to get old fast, and we have to figure out how some of this is going to be funded. There's going to be some additional cost to schools that have girls wrestling. But you know, we've got to try to figure out how we can make it work. Sponsors to help with expenses, okay? Initially, it's not going to be a DIAA sanctioned state tournament. So there's going to be girls tournaments. At the last page that I gave you there, it showed you what there were some girl tournaments this year. Okay, there were some tournaments in 23 and 24. Queen of the Jungle, War at the Shore, so on and so forth. I have already reached out and talked to Jeff Hughes at Del Castle, and I've talked to James Demko at Polytech. And I said, hey, I don't want to infringe upon your tournaments that you have, but if we could try to get you to keep the mats down and hold a girls tournament on Sunday, would you be willing to do it? The answer was yes. If I can have help to help me run it. I need people to work the tables, I need people to help stay and clean up, roll the mats up, put things away and things like that. So those 2 coaches and schools are on board to try to at least have 2 more tournaments in Delaware. I talked to the guy that ran the Queen of the Jungle over at Queen Anne's. That's going to happen again the end of January. War of the Shore is going to have theirs again. I don't have a definite date, but I mean, there's 5 right there. There may be some in Pennsylvania nearby that we could do. So what I want to do here is, you know, try to see if we could get some people that might help sponsor, so they would help defray the cost of the officials for the tournament, or the cost of the medals. All right, the tournament I ran, I had Henlopen Hammers, Smyrna Little Wrestlers, and DIAA contribute money to help buy the medals, to help give the donation to the school for the use of the facility. I got the use of the facility back today that they said that if I try to do it next year, it's probably going to cost me $750 to use the school because I have to have 2 custodians there and so forth. So we've got to see if we can try to find either some sponsors to help or charge admission to get in and so forth. What we've done the past couple of years is ask for donations, which help cover some of it. But you know, we could have, you know, somebody like, you know, just say Barclay Air Conditioning sponsor a tournament here at Smyrna, or you know, and they contribute $500 towards the cost of the medals, towards the cost of the official, to help, you know, defray some of the costs. So, yes.
What some people do is they sponsor a weight class.
Right.
So we can get more sponsors that way, you know, to sponsor this weight class.
Right, Jeff was in and doing that too, sponsoring mats and so forth. So again, I just go on your sponsors to help with the expense. So how it goes, you know, it's just a thought. High schools offer joint practice or wrestle rounds. So if there is not a tournament and St. George's wants to offer a wrestle round, he can send something out to all the schools in the state and say, hey, if you have any girls who want to come up here on Sunday, we're going to have a wrestle round. We'll have 3 officials that help work it. And, you know, it might be $5 a kid to come to do it, to pay the official for their time. But that would be another opportunity to have participation or competition against other people. If we have enough tournaments, we don't have to do that. And then out of season competition is where the USA comes in, USA Wrestling, and that's where Brandy is doing a lot and going to coordinate. Okay, so I'm going to do another list and go over a few things, but I'm going to step aside. Mike, you want to talk about the NWCA and what the resources are available for them. If you would step up here so we can get you on the video, please.
Okay. Yeah, so thanks, buddy. And just on behalf of the National Wrestling Coaches Association Board of Directors, our president, Coach Ursuline, just so grateful that all of you are so engaged in this effort. You know, I don't know how much you know about the NWCA, but we're a 95-year-old nonprofit. And what makes us unique is we focus exclusively on boys and girls, men's and women's wrestling in the educational space. You know, that's really where we live. We have 15,000 members. Essentially every high school coach in the country, every head high school coach in all but 4 states is a member of the NWCA. We have 600 college programs out there, and all the college programs are members of the NWCA. And we really focus on 3 things. The cornerstone of what we do is coaching development, but we focus on the unique skills that coaches need that work in the education space. And one of the things I'll offer today, we do these CEO Leadership Academies. Some of you have been, I think we had one here a couple of years ago, but it's idea sharing among coaches. You know, we get a commitment from a dozen veteran coaches to participate, and then we invite the novice coaches, and we do these completely free. You know, we're planning on doing 20 of them, 20 different states this next year. We're happy to come here anytime. You just tell us when, where, but for it to really be effective, we need a commitment from the veteran coaches to be part of it. Because what it is, we bring a facilitator in, but we just get small group and large group discussion going on, but we want the veteran coaches to share their wisdom with the people that are new to this. But you know, one of our greatest threats across the country right now is wrestling is just growing. Last year, high school boys and girls wrestling had the fastest % increase of any high school sport. Boys participation grew at 12%, so there's 259,000 high school boys across the country. Girls high school wrestling grew at 48%. So there's now 50,000 young ladies wrestling across the country. But to Buddy's point, we really have to work towards separate coaches for boys and girls. It's not sustainable it might be unavoidable in the beginning, but when we get started, it's tough it's 80 hours a week just coaching one team, and then when you're coaching 2 teams, you have 2 80-hour-a-week jobs. So to the extent that we can work towards separate head coaches for the boys and girls teams, that is absolutely going to help girls wrestling and boys wrestling grow the fastest. So coaching development is the cornerstone of what we do. The second competency is what we call student wrestler well-being. One of the things that's interesting is currently in the weight certification rules, the minimum wrestling weight for high school girls and college women is actually 12%. And we've been working with the American College of Sports Medicine, which has a lot of, they were very involved when we went through this exercise for boys wrestling back in the early 2000s. And we have the assessment data of about 30,000 young ladies in the optimal performance calculator, and about a couple thousand college women that are in there. And so the American College of Sports Medicine is making a recommendation that for college women, the minimum body composition, the minimum body fat for a college woman should be no less than 17%. And for a high school girl, it should be no less than 19%, which is a marked increase from where it currently is. And it's a conversation for another day, but there's a lot of really bad physiological things that happen for boys and girls, men and women, when they're burning more calories a day than they're taking in. And so that's just something to keep note. The National High School Federation and the NCAA have not approved those recommendations. So ultimately, you know, it's up to the NCAA, the National High School Federation, and the individual state associations to take that recommendation from ACSM and either approve it or modify it, whatever they're going to do. But I just wanted to share that with you, because as you're, you know, at the ground level in the trenches doing this, generally these young ladies are growing, and it's better to have a more conservative minimum body fat, just like it is for the boys. So student wrestler well-being is a big part of what we do. The other thing I just want to mention, and this is available for boys and girls, high school boys and girls out there, but we have an operating division known as Wrestlers and Business Network. And we have this vast network of iconic wrestling people in every industry. We've got astronauts, doctors, we got it all across the country. And what we do is we have an intentional strategy to connect our high school and college wrestlers with careers. So this last year for the college wrestlers, we had 2 virtual career fairs. We had 2,000 men and women wrestling in college who actually participated in the virtual career fairs, and we had 80 big regional, national, and international companies. And we just bring them together for career opportunities. It's an incredible thing. Well, we now have a dozen high school, a dozen companies that are interested in the high school wrestlers. They're choosing not to go to college. So it's companies like U.S. Steel and the Trades and Old Dominion Freight Lines. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is as you recruit boys and girls onto the wrestling team, or as you develop strategies to retain them, we really have a value proposition that extends beyond just winning. Because in the beginning, they're not going to win very much, and wrestling can be a really challenging thing for a mom or dad to watch their son or daughter, particularly if they're not very good. It's a very physical contact sport. So it's really important that our coaches are really emphasizing that whether or not their son or daughter ever wrestles a varsity match, they should want them to stay with this, because not only are we going to prepare them for success in life, we're going to actually provide intentional strategies to connect them with these career opportunities. I'm not aware of another sport out there that does this. This will differentiate wrestling from every other sport in the athletic department, something we're really proud of. And in the next probably 6 weeks, we will be marketing this under Your Next Match. But all the high school and college wrestlers across the country can upload a profile into a platform that we have, and then the companies that we're partnered with will go there and connect with them. So that's the student wrestler well-being part of what we do. And then the third area is what we call advocacy. And many of you know that between 1972 and 1999, we lost over 550 college men's wrestling teams. And with that, we lost a whole generation of teachers and coaches. I went to Westchester State College. It's a state teachers college. You went there, you got a health and physical education degree, you wrestled, you graduate, become a high school teacher and coach. Well, Salisbury State is going, and University of Delaware is gone, and Montclair State and Westchester. All these state teachers colleges no longer have wrestling, and as a result, it's created a huge shortage of coaches across the country. So as I said earlier, the challenge for us is we have a shortage of coaches just like every other sport that's out there, but compounding our problem is the explosive growth of girls wrestling, along with the continued growth of the boys wrestling. And so our number one priority is really coaching development and accelerating number of coaches we have across the country. So the good news is since 2000, we've helped to establish 387 new college wrestling programs, and 170 of those are women's intercollegiate programs. And I want to share that because the young ladies wrestling in high school need to know there is a college program for every young lady wrestling in high school. It doesn't matter if they have 2 months of experience or they have 15 years of experience. There's colleges out there offering scholarships and incredible financial aid packaging. If you go on our website, it's nwcaonline.com.
You got it up.
Right there, there's a where to wrestle map, and you can click by division. If you want to just see the Division I women's programs, Division II, Division III,
You want me to click somewhere?
if you go into, go to Growing Wrestling,
Okay.
and then go to Where to Wrestle map. There we go. Well, Buddy's always 10 steps ahead of me. I should have known that. And then if you just click on Division II Women there. Just in that, there. And then you can just make it a little bit bigger. There. There you go. And just click on any of those, and it'll tell you the specific name of the college, the coach's name.
Because you
but,
were on, that's where
Yep.
Stud Girls going to be on.
What's really interesting is I spend a lot of time at wrestling events, and there'll be a group of young ladies standing around, and I'll just ask them and their parents, how many college programs do you think are out there? And like 99 out of 100 times, I'll get like 20 or 25. Like they have no idea that there's this much opportunity out there. And so feel free to really talk this up when you're, when you're really trying to get young ladies to come out for your teams. I mean, there's full scholarships. There's, what's interesting is, and this is a good speaking point for your school administrators, wrestling has the second largest percentage of first generation college bound student of any NCAA sport. So the why behind the 387 new college programs, why that's so important, is these new programs provide access to college for a lot of young boys and girls in high school that would never otherwise have a chance to even go to college. And that's sort of the why behind why we work so hard in order to do this. But there's just, we've been adding between 40 and 50 new men's and women's college programs every year. And so it's an unbelievable cut. But you can imagine the challenge with coaches. We're adding new programs faster than we can train coaches. And so that's why the coaching development things we do are so important. Buddy, can you go to one other place? Can you go back to the growing wrestling link? Can you just get back to the home page there somehow? Yeah. And then go down to Scholastic State Profile Map. And this is free. This is on our website. Everybody has access to this. But a map will pop up here. And if you click on Delaware, just put your cursor over Delaware and click on Delaware. Everything that you want to know about wrestling in Delaware is right there. Who the state chairman is, who the USA Wrestling state chairman is. As you can imagine, it's a little challenging keeping this updated sometimes. So if something's incorrect, let us know. But the first two links there, you can look at what a 10-year participation growth looks like for boys and girls wrestling in Delaware. So you can sort of plot that each year. There you go.
That's the girls.
That's the girls. So just a lot of great resources there, and just want to make sure everybody in the room is aware that that's out there. So we've just gone through this exercise at the college level with getting, it started out as the first goal was to get women's wrestling to emerging sports status. And so the way the NCAA works is you have to have a minimum of 40 member institutions that have a team. Depending on the division, you need 6 or 7 wrestlers on a team for it to count as a team. And then depending what college division you're in, you need to have a certain number of competitions. So it's a little bit easier from what I understand at high school than it was in college. But we have a very coordinated effort with USA Wrestling and a lot of other organizations that are out there. And through this organization, we got to emerging sports status pretty quickly in a matter of a couple of years. And now the next step is to get it to be an NCAA championship sport. It is currently already an NAIA women's championship sport. And in college, the NAIA is really where women's wrestling started. They were the real pioneers at the college level. But anyways, what we did is we have a resource guy named Dave Kemme who spends all day, every day, literally just working with our intercollegiate women's coaches, making sure that they meet all these minimum criteria. And so, last year was the first year of this. We needed 40, we got to 41. And I mean, and it's, as you can imagine, it's work because you have attrition, you have, it's really challenging to get through the season. But what I mentioned to Vic and Buddy, I don't know if this is practical in Delaware, but if there's a way that maybe you could have 4 veteran coaches or administrators that maybe could be assigned to 3 or 4 schools each to just be there as a resource. If you have a veteran coach getting a new program started, maybe they need a lot less support than where you have a brand new school trying to get a brand new program off the ground with a brand new coach who's never coached before. But we had a lot of luck with that model. It worked very well. And because we have a lot of our brand new intercollegiate women's teams have head coaches that were wrestling last year. So we're talking about no coaching experience, and so we do everything that we can to support them. I mentioned earlier about the CEO Academy we do. We, for 100...
On the website.
Yeah. We, for 100 college coaches every year, we take about 50 women and 50 men's coaches. We pay all expenses. We pay for flights, lodging, meals, tuition, everything to go to this college version of the CEO Academy. And for 2 days, we talk about all of the non-technical, tactical aspects of coaching. But if there's anybody in your networks interested in becoming a college coach, send them our way. There's a very simple application they can fill out on this. We do still have openings for this summer. We're going to be down in Jacksonville, Florida.
Where would that be?
Pardon me? That would be, if you go into coaching development and then go to college, scroll down to college coaches, and then click on that. Oops. There you go. And then if you scroll the application to fill out, it just takes 5 minutes. You would want the Women's CEO Academy, and again, this particular one is for college. We have a high school page, and we'll list all the high school academies that we're doing out there, but we'd love to do one in Delaware. You just tell us when and where, but the key to it is we need a commitment from a dozen of the veteran coaches, boys or girls coaches, to be part of that. If we need to bring in some more veteran coaches, I was talking to a woman in Illinois on my way here. She's got 92 young ladies on her high school wrestling team. So we have access to a lot of resources. I would just encourage you to call us. Like if you're struggling with anything, just call us. But I will say that no two situations are the same. There's the unique challenges in each school, and so don't hesitate to let us just pick up the phone and call. And if we don't have the answer, we'll absolutely be able to get you to somebody that does. So that's really, we're here to serve you. We don't want to be in your way. It's incredible I watched Buddy and Vic in action at the DIAA meeting a couple weeks ago. You couldn't have two better ambassadors, but the fact that so many people are here tonight to get girls wrestling off the ground is, proportionately, I don't think I've ever seen a better turnout in any state, honestly, for an initial meeting like this. You only have, 48 high school,
50 high schools.
55. So proportionately, given on that, this is incredibly impressive. So I don't know if there's any questions. I know there's some other things that have to be covered tonight, so I don't want to take too long, but it's an honor and privilege to be here, and we just want to serve you without being in your way. Keep an eye out for this Your Next Match, and really feel free to promote that to the parents, your school administrators. This has incredible opportunity to take our sport to places that we never thought was possible, because by becoming a reliable source of talent to these companies will start investing in wrestling that have never been part of our sport before. And so we have a bright future.
Okay. What I have up here is the track wrestling database for this year. Since we did not have a girls team, everything's listed on the boys, but then I can sort by gender. We had 117 girls that were initially signed up that showed interest and so forth. Of those, I think it was 98.
Yep.
Okay, you see how they're red? When they turn green, that means that they were certified. They were assessed and they were certified. Using that 12% guideline, it shows what their minimum weight could be. So, for example, don't worry about the name. If the person weighed in at 110 and they had 18% body fat, that means they could lose 6% body fat down to 12%. So, just saying a little over 100 pounds, they could lose 6 pounds of their body weight to get down to a minimum weight class. And these are the boys' weight classes. Now, next year, I've already talked to track wrestling. We have to be creative because we're going to have two different databases. We're going to have a database for the girls, and we're going to have a database for for the boys, and some girls are going to probably appear on both. Because the girls that want to wrestle on the boys' teams, you know, need to be on the list, but they're going to still have to follow the weight loss plan and everything else that when they were assessed. So if they were allowed to go down to 100 on the girls' side, well, the lowest weight class for the boys is 106, they're eligible for 106. If they were only eligible to go 106, even for the girls' side, they couldn't go any lower than that for the girls because the weight loss plan would not allow them there. So it's very involved. If any have anything to do with coaching, trying to follow weight loss plans, getting kids assessed, getting them in the right weight classes can be a challenge. But as I said, we had 90-some girls that went through the process last year, and about 80 of them did come to the year-end tournament we had at Smyrna. So that was good, and it's growing. It's definitely growing, and I'm hoping that by getting it to level 2, by getting people involved, schools involved, that it's going to grow quickly, and we can get to the point where we can be a level 3 sanctioned school.
So, buddy, the magic number is what, 16 teams?
What?
Is the magic number 16?
The guidelines that they have given me is that we need to have 16 teams that would have probably 3 girls on the team at least in order to try to have a sanctioned state tournament. Now, that would be a little sparse since there's only like 48 girls in 12 weight classes. You know, if they're spread out evenly, that would be 4 girls in each weight class. So it wouldn't be a large tournament, but it's a target to shoot for. And we had 13 schools that submitted letters that they were going to support girls wrestling this year, or next coming year. And that was where we had to have 12 to get the level 1 approval. So we had 13 superintendents, principals, and so forth that submitted the letters, and we've got unanimous approval from the board. Okay. Now, Vic, do you have anything you want to add at this moment?
Well, just, Mike, if you would tell them the growth when state sanctions.
Yeah, I will admit, when I was skeptical initially of if you build it, they'll come. I was skeptical of that. But what we see is when states do sanction a state championship, it explodes. I mean, I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, it absolutely explodes. We've seen in some states, in 1 year after sanctioning, we've seen participation grow by as much as 400%. The one thing I would say that a lot of our veteran girls coaches have shared with us is you want to try, and we say this for boys wrestling as well, initially you want to try to get them to fall in love with wrestling before you start coaching as if you would a seasoned veteran team. Like, you just get someone coming out that's never been part of wrestling, maybe never saw a wrestling match, obviously you want to go slow. And usually what I've been told is you sort of have a wide array of talent in your room. You may have young ladies that have never wrestled at all, but some will be a lot more athletic than others. It'll come easier to them. But what I've been told is the more that you can sort of incorporate some fun games that teach skills, a good thing. For example, if you ever do the toe touch drill where you're just trying to get them in a good stance, and you take the flags from flag football, you can put them on the ankles and just get young ladies used to lowering their level and penetrating and snatching the flag. Things like that where they can sort of fall in love with it through like non-threatening games and through conditioning. Some of the other things is to the extent that you can get in front of the physical education classes in your school and maybe talk to some of the coaches of the other sports. Maybe there's some young ladies, on the guys' side, this happens all the time. The boys that get cut from the basketball team, usually there's a lot of stories of how they became wrestlers. And so it's just, getting in front of as many large groups in a school as you can and just promoting it. The other thing they told me is a lot of parents might be a little skeptical, just depending on factors. And wrestling is really, it's the most safe version of the martial arts. Like every parent wants their daughter to be able to protect themselves, and we don't have chokeholds, we don't have striking, and a lot of people have told me in the recruiting efforts that resonates really well with a lot of parents that maybe have never thought. Like they don't think twice about their daughter being in judo or karate or something like that. This is just an extension of the martial arts where they're being taught how to defend themselves, and that seems to work in many instances based on the feedback we've gotten. But it really just going slow. And again, it would be the same advice if you had a group of freshman boys that never wrestled before. You just go slow, try to get them to fall in love with the sport. As they fall in love with the sport, you can ask more and more of them. And to try to get enough competition over the course. We always say this, think of the practice is like the classroom instruction and the competition is like the test. So students generally don't get smarter by just administering a test every day. So you want to be, there needs to be enough competition to keep them engaged and give them something to look forward to. But what we've been told is to try to, don't go overboard with the competition until they've developed enough skills to be able to have, more success out on the mat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll say a few
Great,
things.
great.
So when I was at AI High, I retired 3 years ago, and I coached there for a long time. I taught there for 20 years. And
You were there for 63 or 64 years.
just under 60. So when we started talking about girls wrestling in Delaware, which was over 5 years ago, we had 13 girls who certified in Delaware. You see, last year we had 55, and you see where we are now, 98. That's a big jump. Now, if it goes 400% or even 200%, we're going to have at least 30 teams here if we do the jump that they say they're seeing at NWCA. But what I did in the school, we tried to, and Red Clay School District has 7 high schools in it. So we try to have a club team. I know Alyssa came in a lot of times and helped out the coaching part of it. But just put it out there, every school in your district, even get the middle school girls and eventually to the elementary, but middle school so they can grow into it when they get to high school. That's the key to success of this. So if you can just have open mats 1 or 2 nights a week where you have just the girls come in, and I was lucky enough to have one of the coaches in the district come in and do that, Mr. Baker from McCain High School. And we had 28 girls in there, which was a good start. But teach the basics in there and have fun. Play games at the end, like Mike said. If you make it fun, they'll come back. And they came back year after year, which was nice. But in the schools, when I was in school, I put the pictures up on the board of our Olympians. We had a lot of gold medals a couple years ago. Hopefully we have a few more this year at the Olympics. But success stories about the women, and some of the stats. So it's going to start in the middle schools for now and build into the high schools, and that's how we're going to fill in the gaps in the high schools. And I don't want to shoot for 12, I want to shoot for 16. Why not just jump to 16 teams and be done with it and have our state tournament? And I think we can do that with the sport I'm seeing here. The thing is, get the word out. It's a safe sport, no matter how we do it, how we say it. If it's going to be self-defense, that's another thing I told the girls, and I had a lot of inner city girls who were tough, and they bought into it. So there are many ways to do it, and I'll send it out to everybody on this list. Some of the things that I put out there and on files, and you can try that in your schools. But the whole thing is, get the school to buy into it. I got my superintendent to buy into it. Of course, I'm on the school board, so that helped a little bit, get the superintendent on board, but he's buying into it. We're going to have coaches next year in our high schools. DMA is one of our schools in Red Clay. So the whole idea is information. The information there and the safety of it. Now, the hygiene part of it, Mike, you have something on your website about hygiene, and there was a lot of questions about that, right? there's all resources. Mike, you want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I mean, we have a lot of great resources up there, and and again, if something's missing, just call us.
Let's play it again, so you tell them where to go.
You want me to pull it up again?
Yeah, we have,
Yeah, his website is great for
in the
hygiene.
student wrestler well-being section, there's all kinds of information about hygiene, skin infection prevention, those kinds of things.
I know a lot of parents are worried about the hygiene on the mats and so forth.
Hey, you're talking about like getting this thing going. Like I watched Maryland happen because I ran at Delaware, so like we're right back to Wycomico County. Parkside has a big program. They have like 20 kids.
Athlete well-being.
So they did like the first year they had girls wrestling. I was like, we're doing girls wrestling. It kind of like floundered. We did okay, it floundered a little bit. The second year they said, we're doing girls wrestling. Every girl makes stakes this year. It like blew up. It was like these girls were just, they're like, we're going to state tournament. All we got to do is sign up for a team, we're going to state tournament.
Last year I had 3 teams from Maryland at the Girls Beast, or second hour in Girls Beast. Now I have 12 from Maryland. Queen Anne's are bringing a whole team, they're bringing a whole team.
Yeah, Queen Anne's got a whole team. Yeah, so there you got, it was, I think it was a little struggle for that first year to get all those girls through that tournament. And now after that they qualify like they do with the boys. And I think there's probably still 75% of them that make it because there's still, the numbers aren't there where the boys are. But, I mean, I think if you get that, I mean, it might be that initial push for that first year. It might be a little struggle getting through that tournament. But man, if you tell those girls they're going to go to states, all you got to do is sign up. I mean, when the high school athlete, I mean, with the opportunity, you get to go to states.
Absolutely.
Right.
And maybe the first year we can have all the girls come instead of just qualifying. Then, once it grows, have the qualifiers.
I had a question. So for those of us that don't have kids of wrestling age and they're not currently employed by the school district, that are just members of the community that love wrestling, that want to see this happen, how can we be helpful?
I think it's help to run tournaments, just helping, like what we're seeing is a lot of school districts are reluctant to hire a separate coach for girls. And usually it's just too much to have one coach coaching both. Usually one, if not both teams suffer. And so our coaches just need help. I mean, and so helping the coach, whether it's supervision, whether it's helping to recruit young ladies into our sport in the schools.
And the hiring of the coaches, is that something that happens at the school board level or the superintendent?
Yes, and if it's going to happen, you should talk to your school administrators now to get into
Athletic
the budget.
directors.
The
Talk to
budget
them
for next
later.
year. They had to put in their budget for next year by July when they finalize the budget. All right, Marv? So now's the time to talk to them, so they didn't say, oh, you gotta wait for next year. Now you can get it for next year.
And we have a lot of great, like if you need help with a school board or something like that, we have a lot of great resources. We spend a lot of time doing that sort of thing. But as I keep saying, I can't tell you how many calls, I even get this for boys programs, and like if we can't find a coach, we have to shut our high school program down. And we get those calls from all around the country. So we can't develop coaches fast enough, boys and girls coaches. I mean, and again, it's all sports and not just wrestling, but it's something we got to stay ahead of.
Going back to your question, okay, that's kind of the purpose of this meeting tonight, because we have to create a girls wrestling committee, and we need to create girls wrestling boosters, that there is a network that people can contact other people and say, hey, Delcast is having their tournament next weekend. Can I count on you? Can I count on you? Can I count on you? There has to be people that are type A personalities that get out there.
Sign me up, buddy.
Yeah, right,
Oh, yeah,
that's it.
definitely.
All right,
They'll run it for school board.
okay. People have to step up and be part of it. I can only do so much. I do what I can. I try to do as much as I can, but I can't do it all. And there has to be a separate committee. Beasley, you got a question?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, so will the girls, like, so, like, if we're trying to recruit coaches and all that, I was just trying to say, like, so will the, like, payment-wise, so if we have coaches who want to get paid, are they on the same level as?
That would be a district-to-district situation, because currently, right now, Aaron doesn't make the same that Trey makes, because it's different steps, it's different levels, it's different local supplements and all that. So that's what I was saying. As a group, as a concerned parent or whatever, you want to try to talk to your athletic director and say, hey, DIAA has approved girls wrestling. We want to have a strong girls wrestling program in our schools. we need to have a person dedicated to coaching girls wrestling, whether it be a assistant to the boys coach that's dedicated to the girls, or whether we hire volunteer coaches that want to help that can only be here so many days a week, but we still need somebody to spearhead it and head it up. And how they pay or how they can afford it, that's going to be up to each district. But if we don't start to move that direction, we don't start trying to build it, they will come. We'll never get there. So I can't tell you of the 20-some districts in the state how everybody's going to handle it. I don't know.
Lloyd, can I add to that real quick?
Yes.
Being a teacher, a former teacher and coach, and now on a school board, if you have 10 parents going instead of 1, it's going to make a big difference. So if you can get 10 or 15 parents going to the school administrators and saying, we want this to happen, and then it comes to the board and they say, well, we have 15 parents here who vote for these school board members to get that going. And they'll put it in the budget, and school boards actually approve the budgets. So key is getting it on the school budget, which will get into the district budget, so the board can vote on it.
One of the most powerful ways to approach a school board is you pull the mission statement of the school district off the website, and then you talk about how wrestling is aligned and supports that mission statement. And that gets back to, school boards are in the business of preparing students to go to college, to go in the military,
Be leaders.
to be leaders, to just be successful in life. And that's where you can incorporate the wrestler and business piece of this, and the fact that we have the second largest percentage of first generation college bound students. So by getting these young ladies in high schools in the sport of wrestling, indirectly it's going to provide access for many of them to go to college that might not otherwise have any chance of getting there. It's really hard for a school district, when you put it like that, to say we are in the business of steering students in this way. It's really hard for them at that point to say, we can't justify this investment.
Okay. All right, I just want to take a minute for Jeff. Go ahead.
To the question about how you can find out how you can help. Delaware Girls Wrestling on Facebook as a group, and also the Delaware Wrestling Facebook group. You'll probably find that that's going to end up being the comments where people will either put out requests or say that they're willing to help those tournaments. So
On the FAQs, I think it may be page 2 or 3, it has on there about the Delaware Girls Wrestling. Okay, Brandy has created that website on Facebook, right? Yes. And she is going to coordinate with other people, like Mrs. Till, can't think of the name right now, but there were about 4 or 5 people that said they would be involved in trying to help coordinate that. And Brandy's email is listed at this point in there. There may be others added down the road. But we need people to step up and do some of those jobs, okay? So if somebody wanted to really be the tournament coordinator, that they contact Maryland, they contact, Pennsylvania, they contact New Jersey, and they put together a list, upcoming girls tournaments that are available.
That would be huge.
Okay, so that's my vision or thought, to have something like that on that website, upcoming tournaments. Click and you can get a list of where they're coming from, okay? So that's, again, but I can't do all that. I got enough going on with what I got that I need somebody to say, I'm going to take that ball and go with it, okay? I've reached out to Daniel Boone, who used to be the president of the Coaches Association. And he has a young daughter, I think in 8th or 9th grade, that's wrestling. He's not able to be here tonight, but he said he's willing to help out. I said, well, Daniel, you were very organized when you were the president of the Coaches Association. Do you think you might be interested in being the chair of the girls' wrestling committee? And he said, let me talk to my wife and see. And so, there's a name, but if there's somebody else that that would be very good, that's organized, that can communicate, that's willing to work a lot to try to make it happen and coordinate a lot of people, going back to what I had, did you want to do anything else? But I don't know.
No, yeah. It's just, hygiene, skin infection, stuff that Vic was talking about. That's just in the student athlete.
Yeah, I know it was always a concern of parents in high school and middle school. What about the hygiene? They see ringworm, things like that. How to prevent it?
Once we got approved at level 2, there were things that I had to do and submit to DIAA. So I had to put it here. What rules we're going to use? Well, girls wrestling will abide by the 24-25 NFH rules that will appear in the updated rule book. Okay? Who's going to officiate? DOE will officiate all competitions involving the girls. The coaches for the girls will be required to attend the annual rules interpretation meeting scheduled for all wrestling coaches. That's usually held in October. So, the boys can be there, the girls can be there. They all can attend that interpretation meeting, go over the rules, rule changes. There's a lot of rule changes coming up if not, everyone's not aware. 3-point takedowns, 2, 3, and 4-point near falls, 1 point of support inside and inbounds. So there's a lot of rules that are being changed for next year. That's going to have to be going over, and new coaches and kids have to learn. All right. Initially, there will not be enough girls to field teams to conduct dual meets. Wrestling community will assume the responsibility to establish girls-only tournaments and/or wrestle rounds to provide opportunities for girls to compete rather than just practicing. As I said, we impend. The girls got tired of practicing. You've got to have something to look forward to. If it's 2 weeks away, if it's 3 weeks away, we're going to do this tournament, we're going to have that, we're going to go to this one at the end of the year, so that they can plan to see something of what they're working for. Okay? Members of the State Wrestling Committee for Boys, along with members of the DIAA, will meet with parents, potential girls. That's what we're doing right now. Okay? And we're going to try to establish a girls wrestling committee next few months to prepare for the 24-25 season. The current proposal will allow for girls to wrestle on the boys' teams. I was very clear about that other states have been very flexible, and we want our state to be flexible. We don't want to discourage girls and so forth. So basically, at this point, if a girl has wrestled boys for the last 8 years, and she wants to continue to wrestle against the boys, and she wants to compete in the boys' individual tournament, then so be it. She can do that. But there are going to be girls that are coming on that are new and inexperienced, and they only want to wrestle with girls. So basically, they could do that.
There's a question.
Go ahead.
So that's the case at level 2. Once we reach level 3.
Once we get to level 3 and it's fully a girls' sport, then the girls are going to have to decide. Girls could still stay with the boys if they declare that they want that competition, that they're a national level person and they want to wrestle against the boys to try to go to college and get the exposure. They can request and do that. So that's our plan, to try to allow that to happen. All right.
And that's a choice that has to be made at the beginning of the season. That's a choice that has to be made at the beginning of the season. Once they choose, they're locked in.
Then they're locked in. That's my understanding. All right. Again, this is a work in progress. I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying to make it work for everybody and make it as flexible as possible.
On page 5, it says if a girl chooses to wrestle on the boys' team when there's also a girls' team at her school, then that girl cannot opt into the girls' postseason.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say there is that if Autumn wants to wrestle with the Milford team all year long, okay, and she wrestles some of the girls' tournaments too, that she can do that along the way, okay, but when it comes time for the qualifying tournaments to go to the Hen Open, the Blue Hen, or the independent qualifier, she's got to declare. If she goes to the boys, to wrestle in the boys' individual tournament, then she could not go to the girls' tournament that we would eventually have. At this point, the timing that I purposely have is that our Delaware Girls Championship is the Sunday after the boys' duels. It's a week prior to the conference qualifiers. So a girl could still go to that and then go wrestle with the boys too. So I'm trying to be creative and make it work as much as I can for everybody. They can do what they want. But if they go to the boys, if we get to a point that we get level 3, then they could not wrestle in the girls too. They have to do one or the other. Okay? All right? The FAQs I put together because I was getting a lot of calls and questions and so forth, and people had different answers. So what I tried to do was take what Pennsylvania had and plagiarize to a degree what they had put in there, and I chose the topics that were relevant to us in Delaware, to try to give people something to take home, that this is what we're trying to do. And so, now, can I be superseded by Dave Baylor or something? Probably, but I think he's very much in our corner, that he's willing to work with us, and he trusts me a great deal to try to make it work, because we have to do certain things to keep the boys going, but we've got to help the girls grow. So that's the flexibility that I've tried to work in here. All right, so girls that desire to wrestle only against other girls will be allowed to participate in maximum 18 events. That's what the boys are allowed, 18. So if a girl only wants to wrestle girls, she can do that. But she can only go to 18 tournaments, or 18 dual meets or whatever when it gets to the boys. The limit's the same as it is for the boys. All right?
Buddy,
Yes.
18 sanctioned events,
Okay.
18 sanctioned events.
All right.
So open, unaffiliated, do not count against that?
Okay. We haven't gotten that far yet to clarify. All right. I mean, most tournaments
right
are
now,
held.
right now they wouldn't, because they're not officially in the DIAA thing, so they could do it now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Most open tournaments are after the season, not so much during the season.
But if compete event management creates an open girls tournament during the season and they compete unaffiliated, that should not count against that.
Correct.
It won't count against anybody. I mean, it could be one of the 18 that the girls would do. They get the maximum of 18.
So if they're on the boys roster, they're breaking DIA rules.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the flexibility thing that what happened this year?
I wanted to have some girls at Rough Romney, but they're on my boys roster, so they'd be breaking.
Yes, they'd be breaking the idea.
Okay, so next year, they can be on both rosters, and we can try to make that happen. All right, again, I'm trying to be flexible, and I'm gonna fight for whatever I can to try to allow it to happen. All right, okay, I mean, even the girls, Trey, even the girls that went to the Beast, that event did not count on the boys roster.
So I was gonna ask a question along that.
Because it's a special event that people get invited
Well, the other
to.
thing, you could probably get a sanction through DIAA.
Right.
The sign, just like you do for the Beast.
Right.
It doesn't count. So if you put them things in a list, you could probably get them approved, but just have to go through the right
Well,
channel, yes.
Elite athletes.
We got the Beast approved for boys. If there's 3 boys or less, it doesn't count against them. And the girls doesn't count because it's an elite invitational event, so.
So a waiver of some sort.
Right, so.
Yeah, so you list all the events, DIAA would sign off for it, and it would just grab all the ADs knowing that, and them events don't count towards an account.
So I
Yes.
have one quick question.
Yes.
I gotta run in a minute, so I want to get my
Okay,
question into.
that's fine.
While Mike's here with NWCA, I appreciate you being here. The question that I have goes back to what Brittany was getting after too, I think, is, with some of these schools out there, the financial stream for those schools isn't the same. It's just not equal across the board.
Yes.
In Delaware, and I'm sure it is other states, is there funding streams available from NWCA, grants, any fundraising recommendations, things like that schools could participate in to help boost this? Because we talk about separate coaches are going to need to be paid. Buses, uniforms, entry fees, things like that. Is there funding streams available to some of these schools?
Yeah, we don't have a restricted account with money in it, but what we do is we're more than happy to leverage our network wherever the opportunity is to see if we can get, usually that's going to be a local thing. It's going to be, but quite frankly, through this Wrestlers in Business, concept, we're going to have more companies that have a local presence that would be more willing to do something like this. So by all means,
Delaware division, Mike.
Pardon me?
We do have a Delaware division.
And we do have a chapter. So Wrestlers in Business, we have these chapters around the country. We have a Delaware chapter. So what I would do, if you called me, I would call them, and they're the people that have the local presence in Delaware. But long story short, I mean, we would certainly be able to direct you towards local companies and.
The Marines are supporting a lot of things.
Yeah.
National Guard supports a lot.
Yeah.
And there are some businesses that would support things and do things. I mean, we had, but during COVID, we had a couple businesses that came up, stepped up, and helped provide money so that we could have our individual state tournament. And they did,
That's a way that you could help.
But that's the purpose of Wrestlers in Business. We want to have chapters in every region across the country for what you just, I mean, that's, because it doesn't matter what level of institution you're in, money's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter, and so we want to make sure there's a local infrastructure to support the very things you just mentioned.
To your point, if the goal is to get to 16 too, our charter schools have a lot more flexibility with that funding, and their approval process is a lot shorter. So if there's interest that some charter schools capitalize on that.
Mike, one other thing. Once they declare they're going to have a girls' team in high school, doesn't that come under Title IX, where they have to fund the same as the boys?
Yeah, right. The key is to demonstrate the interest is there, and that's why it's so important that getting the young ladies to come out and stay out.
And retain them.
Because once you demonstrate there's interest, Title IX, then is something that any school district would be, very concerned about. So but it's all about getting them to come out and stay out.
And what determines that number, like how many girls?
Okay, we've used the number 3. There is no requirement for a girl to start the school to start a girl. It could be one girl, okay? But we've used the number when we talked to DIAA, that like if a school has 3 girls and they want to support it, that's kind of a team. Is what we've used that as a measurement, I guess. Just to have something. But there is no requirement. You go to the FAQ, it says there is no number required. But all right, let me finish up with this, and then I'll get to any other questions. All right, in the absence of available competitions for girls, coaches will need to schedule wrestle rounds and provide opportunities for the girls to compete against other girls. Coaches should communicate with opposing coaches and try to schedule exhibition matches against girls from opposing schools prior to the regularly scheduled boys varsity match. So if Smyrna's going to wrestle Cesar Rodney, Aaron should call Trey and say, hey, Trey, I got 4 girls. What weight girls do you have? And if they can match up 2 or 3, wrestle them during the JV match.
I like to make it separate, like, apart from the JV.
Well, again, depending on how many there can be and how to make, it's just, from the official standpoint, they're going to fit into where they get paid for a varsity plus or something, and I don't know how many is it?
If it's under 5 matches, then it would just be a plus. It would be per match.
Right. If it's more than 5 matches, then it's varsity and JV. All right. And what I'm trying to do to keep the money, not make it a separate thing, keep it as part of varsity JV with the girls' exhibition matches in there as part of it.
I think this is really key because the girls, my daughter wrestled last year at St. George's, and we had one against APA.
Right.
And there was just 6 matches, and it was exciting because they were in front of a home crowd.
Right.
Students, parents, other wrestlers, and the boys were cheering for them, and their parents were cheering for them. Other than, let's go to this tournament, which you have to pay money for. Maybe only mom and dad is there, maybe just mom's there. And it was just so exciting that we really need to, those girls have a right to be in front of their home gym and to just to get
That's what we want.
That. Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
But to get from here to there, I think we have to take those steps along the way to get there.
Right.
And I don't want to lose the girls while we're transitioning and get there. That's why I'm saying, at least if we have tournaments that they can look at a schedule and say, I got a tournament 2 weeks from now, I got a tournament 3 weeks from now, that they can plan and say, that's why I'm, practicing so much. All right. Sometimes the girls might want to just have a girls practice the night that the boys have an away match or something. So there's creative ideas and things that can happen, but that's going to be dependent from school to school, coach to coach, and I don't have all those answers.
And the wrestle round's fun too. We did one with St. Andrews and Apo too, where they just got a chance to wrestle girls that weren't on their team. They get tired of wrestling the same girls all the time. And that was just an afternoon after practice. We just went to St. Andrews and did it, and it was a lot of fun.
And that again puts the burden on those coaches to communicate with other coaches and say, hey, this is what we want to do. We did something like that here at Smyrna 4 years ago during COVID or before COVID, where we had like 3 Sundays in a row that we had the girls from all over the state to come, and we matched them up, and we had matches between them. We did some clinic work also to where we taught them, and that we got the Team Delaware singlets we gave them and all that. So those are things that we can continue to try to do, but COVID screwed that up a little bit for us for a couple of years, and now we're back into it. We've got Dee's approval, and we got to go on. But we need some leaders to step up, and somebody say, I will do that. I will make sure that happens. Because if Jeff Hughes says we'll have a tournament and only 3 people show up to help him, guess what? Jeff Hughes isn't going to do it again. And it may be canceled that day and we all look like a bunch of fools. But so, is there, do we want to have somebody to start to say, I'm going to start a wrestling boosters parents, that I have a database of that. Again, it's unlimited as to what we can do. But, Brandy is assuming a role from USAW to try to do it as part of, I guess, year-round wrestling, primarily off-season wrestling, because during the season we're going to have the school teams. But, how can we marriage it all together? That's what we're trying to do. All right, so here, prospective girls coaches can participate in the coaches training. Delaware Wrestling should establish the girls website, which we just did. All right, tournaments both in and out of state provide information available. So this is what I had to create a document to give Dave Baylor to let him know what we were doing to satisfy the level 2 requirements and so on. As I said, the committee that we have to create, we don't have to do it now, but I think we need to do it by the fall. And if somebody is interested, somebody wants to step up, if Daniel Boone definitely wants to do it, he's going to get back to me after he talks to his wife. We can go from there.
I don't think we should wait.
Well, what's the chair?
Are you all
I'll sit
ready to be on this
Okay,
committee?
the role of the chair is going to be responsible for the coordination of the tournaments, the operation of the tournaments, communicating with members on the committee and other boosters to be there to work the tournaments. And, there should be someone on the committee that, like I said, that takes responsibility to seek out competitive opportunities at different states for tournaments and so forth. If in the case of St. George's, where they have a full team theoretically, they may want to schedule a dual meet against Queen Anne's, because Queen Anne's has a full team. Stephen Decatur, I think, has a full team.
Yep.
So they can reach out and see that. Again, I don't know if Stephen Decatur has a full schedule. I don't know what the rules are in Maryland, how many they can have, but it depends from school to school to reach out and try to make that happen. But the chair of the committee is going to kind of cover it all.
Right, you're the chair, then what other?
All right, then you have a vice chair, you have a secretary, and then you have people that are worker bees on the committee. Generally, a committee is going to be between 10 and 15 people. And as I said, the state legislators have the requirement that it has to be representation from all 3 counties. There needs to be representation from the schools in the form of athletic directors or coaches. There needs to be some representation from the officials, and I can look and see what the other thing. But that committee should have between 10 and 15 people on it, and they would assume the role to make that happen and have a schedule by the fall of next year and say, these are the 8 tournaments that we have that are out there, so that if you have a girls team, you have at least 8 opportunities to get your girls there to compete. All right. As far as transportation, if you have a girls team with only 4, 5, 6 girls, there's probably a district van that would be available to transport the girls.
And state fleet also.
State fleet also. So we have to find a way to make it happen. Okay. Before I forget, just in case everyone's not aware, go ahead, Alyssa, stand up. Okay. Alyssa Main was one of our girls that was a pioneer in girls wrestling. We had a few girls a few years ago that wrestled at the state tournament. And Alyssa, did you win one at the state tournament or no?
Yeah.
You did. Okay. So, she wrestled against the boys and got into the blood round. And so she has since graduated. She's wrestling at college in South Carolina. Presbyterian College.
And one of our first Beast champs.
Okay.
And the first Division I school to add a women's wrestling program.
Presbyterian. So, and I think you went to the tournament this year, right?
Qualified for
Qualified. So let's give her a big round of applause.
Yeah.
She's one of the pioneers.
That's she's helping with the summer program, right?
Okay?
Doesn't get any better than that.
All right, here's a text from Daniel Boone. Hey, buddy, not sure you saw my text the other night, but I'm online watching the presentation through YouTube. And let's see what he said. And I cut it off. I don't know. All right. Anyway, so I'll get back to Daniel. But Brandy's daughter was another girl that has wrestled at Cesar Rodney for 4 years, and she's wrestling where? Southern Virginia University also. So, you know, these are young ladies. What?
Cedar Crest, Elena.
Okay. I want to Cedar Crest. So, the opportunities are there. You know, there are scholarships available. There is financial assistance available. And, you know, our job is to try to get these girls involved and get them out there, get the exposure, and see if they can get the opportunity. All right, the list of FAQs. Go
Let me
ahead.
talk about some other funding about DWA.
All right, let me just go through the list of FAQs. Again, as I said, a lot of it's pretty generic, but I wanted you to at least hear the answers. Hopefully some of you have gone through it. There's like 6 pages of information there. A lot of it's been covered in other ways. The last page, it shows you the tournaments that were available this past year. There were 7 of them that I quickly was able to recall. And next year, we want to try to have Polytech, Del Castle, and the Delaware Girls Championship, and maybe more if other schools are interested. But that's just some information to try to build on, so that at least we have some dates and so forth there. All right? Questions that you have. We've talked a whole lot at you and shared a lot of ideas and thoughts. I mean,
I just want to give a shout out to our young ladies because we went to a lot of these tournaments last year, and the girls from Delaware, the Cesar Rodney girls, the St. Andrews girls, the APA girls, and the St. George girls, they cheered for each other. If they weren't competing against each other,
right,
they were by each other's mats. They were cheering for each other. We brought back and forth. Virginia Beach, we were cheering for Addie and for everybody that was out there because they were really very supportive of each other, and they are a really nice, tight group. And we are sending a girls freestyle team to New York for Delaware is next Sunday for a dual team meet, mostly of the Dover Bandits. I know Autumn's going to be on it, and several middle school girls, and my daughter's going to be on it, and so that's good for off season that they're going to be going out and going to New York, a Delaware girls team.
I think there's a lot of all season interest as well with girls. You know, us in general, we have about like close to 10, 12 girls alone, and I keep adding girls, so I think that's a big thing to think about as well with, building the girls,
Now's the time to build for next year, to get other girls interested, get some exposure, get some practice in, so that they're not totally new and afraid next year.
And Ryan, all your parents, I know you have a lot of them in your club, get them to the schools. Hey, we want to have a team next year.
Yeah.
Whatever high school they are, or even middle school.
Well, I know, middle school especially, I have about 8 girls alone that are
Get them
in
talking
7th,
to the
8th
administrators now for the budget for next year.
Okay, everything that we're doing that applies to the high school also applies to the junior highs. Okay, they're going to have the same, rules and so forth. At this point, in this juncture, they don't do the body testing at the junior highs. But the girls would compete at the same weights as the boys and at the same length of the periods as the boys and so forth. If a junior high can get enough girls to try to create a team, that would be wonderful. But again, recruiting, retaining, and coaching. If you have a half a dozen girls at the junior high level and they don't want to wrestle boys, then you've got to try to get them some of these other tournaments where there are girls divisions that they can wrestle against other girls to have that opportunity. If they want to wrestle boys, it's up to them, but we've got to try to see and have those tournaments where they have girls only division that they can try to get to.
To that point, Delaware USA Wrestling has the belief that the club system is going to drive the youth and middle school to be picked up at the high school, because what we're seeing is exactly what Ryan's saying, is girls youth wrestling is at the club level. And hopefully 5, 6, 7 years, those are going to be the kids who are ready for high school. But Delaware USA Wrestling is also hoping that the middle schools start filling in girls teams to accept Ryan's youth wrestlers.
You guys talk about, funding for, the high school level. I think that's important as well. Like funding like a team or funding something for, those clubs and those girls that are younger. Because it seems like, there's a lot of interest for those younger girls. And, we go to tournaments and we have those girl divisions. But, it's not like we got to kind of come together. And we work a lot with the Bandits because they have a lot of girls as well. And, the tournament that you guys are talking about, but just being able to have that more and more support because, those are expensive. There's not a lot of Delaware options. You got your New York, your DIAA and stuff like that, and the Virginia tournaments, but, they're all, expensive. So maybe something as well, not only for, the high school level, but kind of, down the line.
Can I say something on that?
Go ahead.
The Delaware Wrestling Alliance, as you know, we gave USA Wrestling $40,000 this year for summer programs. We allotted only $5,000 for the girls because last year we allotted $5,000 and they didn't use it all. I'm hoping we use that so I can go back to our board and say the girls need more money.
Yep.
And that's going to be up to you guys to make that happen. I hope you spend that money because every year I hear, well, I didn't spend all the money.
In fact, I love slinging money around.
I know you do.
Bill's been
So I want to go back and say we need more money for the girls.
Yeah, so the
And I don't think it'll be a
question
problem.
is, DWA allocated out of our funding, they stipulated 5,000 goes to the girls. They go to a tournament, they get reimbursed, they go to
Camps.
camps.
I think that was a
things
big
like
push
that.
too.
What's that?
The fact that you guys are reimbursing, I think that's a huge
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
especially for the team aspect.
So there's
Spend the money
dedicated,
so we can get the board.
dedicated money
That's
for
what I'm
girls.
telling you.
Girls go to a girls' summer camp. That's going to be reimbursed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a big thing. And all we ask in return is, we now run the girls Beast East, we are our third year this year. We need table help. And the more table help we have, the more funding we put towards the girls for summer programs or whatever programs you want to do with it. So if our board goes in and sees, oh wow, look at all these people from Delaware helping tables, we're giving you more money.
What about though, like an in-season tournament for, not only the high school for girls, but like as like a club level, like something that, like you talk about the Beast of the East.
You know,
like
I'm all
like
about tournaments.
A girls Beast of the East, but in season. So I think that would drive as well, those kind of, big
All
girls.
girls tournaments versus girls divisions are completely different.
You just put it together and I'll get the funding.
Completely different environments.
All right, you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
You put it together, I'll get you the funding, one way or another. Russell's Business Network, NWCA, whomever.
Okay.
Don't worry about the funding.
Along with what he's saying there is, like for the Polytech tournament, if Polytech's going to have an all-girls tournament, then the committee, the group needs to set it up. Are you going to include girls age 6, 8, 10, 12, all the way up through high school? I mean, you could do that.
Yeah.
But it takes people to organize that, set it up, talk to the people that are going to run the tournament and how they're going to register people. So, and if you're there, you're just there all day, you keep wrestling.
Yeah, I know for us, especially our girls, like it's we enter in tournaments and Jody does a really good job providing a lot of tournaments, but our girls go in there, they enter in, and there's only 2 girls in the weight class. So I make it that all my girls also wrestle the boys division, but that's something that I find is very difficult because you don't get those options for them to wrestle other girls. And the weight difference is huge. I got girls on my team that, are 120 wrestling girls 160. That's a huge difference. But there's no one around that weight because, so, something like that you can bring to where, okay, you open it up from 6 to high school. I think that would work even better because you've got more girls that would fill in those weight classes,
Right. Again, it's managing that and organizing that.
I got you.
And people that are stepping up and willing to do it.
Can I do one last thing, bud?
Yeah, good.
The girls' Beast, bring your daughters there if they're not wrestling in the Beast. Let them sit at the table with you because we have national champs there, world champions there, 30 state champions. They'll see the best girls wrestling in the nation. So if they see where they need to be, it'll help them in getting there. right? So if you're coming to help with the girls' beach tables, bring your daughter so they can see this wrestling. All right?
Bring the teams. Our team went last year to watch. We had two people competing in it, and they brought the whole team to come and watch and
Just
help
let me
out
know.
and everything else.
So we can let you in the front door and get in there and see
They
it.
don't charge to get into the girls' tournament, do they?
We're not charging the Delaware. We're charging others.
I mean,
Yeah, I
I
paid.
we host the Battlefield Classic for the younger kids. We had over 680 kids. So, you know.
You just let me know who they are so we
yeah,
get them
I mean,
in there
I
to
would love
see
to
it.
even have a younger kids, like, you know.
December
little-
19th and 20th this year.
Huh?
December 19th and 20th this year for the girls' beach.
For the girls' beats.
Yep. And before I leave it, if you're in the APO, we have a wrestling fan here and advocate who's running for board, APO. If you vote for this woman, you'll have a friend of wrestling on the board.
We practice that, so.
So there you go. Spread the word.
I'll get it in the budget.
Stand up and give them your name so they have.
My name's Brittany Mumford, also known as Keith's daughter.
Keith Mumford, referee.
Yeah. I love wrestling. The wrestling community is my family. It changed my life in 1,000 different ways, and I want to see this happen. So, let's do it.
Get her on the board. APO people.
I got you.
But I had a question
Yes.
about body composition. Body composition requirements the same girls and boys?
No. Boys is 7% is the lowest that a boy can cut down to. A girl, the lowest she can cut down is 12%.
How about if they're under both in the OPC?
Okay, if they're below 7%,
No, if they're in both on
Okay.
track wrestling.
okay, it's the same, like right now, the girls that are on the boys list,
Yeah.
because they're a female,
12%.
It's
that's 12%.
It's 12% no matter what.
Okay. The issue of me talking to track to try to create two different databases is that the girls that only want to wrestle girls can be in the girls database.
Gotcha.
The girls that want to be in the boys, wrestling the boys team, in order for the coach to be able to put them on a roster, on a weigh-in sheet, you know, in the season tracking of their matches, they have to be on the boys list also if they're going to wrestle the boys. So that's something that I've got to work with track to make happen and coordinate it. And they said they've done that with other states that have transitioned also. So we'll work through that. So in the case of like what Trey is saying, if he has some girls that wrestle actually on the boys team, that girl could be listed on the boys roster, but could also be listed on the girls roster. So if she went to a girls team, he'd print the girls roster going to the girls team. But if she's only going to wrestle against a dual meet against somebody or the Milford tournament, she could be on the boys roster as a weight.
Yeah. Last question for me, folk style, freestyle, how long before we have to make a decision on whether we're at?
I do not know.
You mean in high school?
Yeah.
My understanding is
Mike can talk about that.
most high schools still are doing pro stuff.
They're all
And-
full.
I didn't know if it was all.
New York's got a little bit of a hybrid, everybody else is folk style.
Okay, and the freestyle comes in at the college level.
That would be a referee nightmare, to try to get, that's what it is. Yeah, I mean,
We gotta get more
the
officials
referee
freestyling.
situation right now, I mean, no offense to you guys.
There's a shortage of those, too.
I mean, it's very inexperienced guys, you know, two things, it'd be impossible.
Didn't NHSA put down a marker and say you've got X number of years to make a choice? Whether you're gonna do folk style or freestyle girls in high school?
No, I don't.
Now LOCA is involved in that decision making. So Mike, what are you hearing?
I hadn't heard that.
All right.
They put the requirement in 2 years ago that we had to select the weight classes we were going to use.
Yeah.
And Pennsylvania went 13 weight classes. Delaware stayed with 14. I think New Jersey, did they do 13 or 14?
I thought they did 13, but I'm not positive.
I know PA did 13.
Yeah.
And then that creates some issues when Delaware teams go to wrestle in Pennsylvania. Because if, for example, the weight class is 152 in Pennsylvania, but the kid's only allowed to get down to 156 in Delaware according to his OPC, he can't wrestle 154 when he gets to 2-pound weight line because his weight loss plan won't let him get there Yeah, so it creates some issues sometimes across state lines. But we work through that. Okay, again, other questions from the FAQs that somebody may have seen or have. I don't want to go through all of them. I appreciate your patience and willingness to sit here and listen, but I hope that you will be a vehicle to go out there and spread the word to other people. You know, you can make copies of this and share it. You know, and you know, I'm available. If people want to reach out to me, I'll try to answer any questions anybody have the best that I can. But
Or Mike Moore.
or Mike through NWCA. The big thing right now is I wanted to get the information out there, let people digest it, and then probably this summer, maybe try to call a meeting again of people that are interested and see if there's anybody that really wants to step up and be on a girls wrestling committee, anybody that truly wants to be the chair and then drive it. We may start out with 5 people, and we have to fill in the blanks of the other people that the state requires us to have, and then try to move forward. The 3 tournaments that I listed in the back would be a start for the 3 to 6 that I'd like to definitely have. I just think that from the season, when the season starts early December till the end of February, you're talking 3 months. If you did one every other week, six tournaments or 6 competitions, and then in the off weeks you could have wrestle arounds. They could just be scrimmages, invite the girls to come, and they pair up with other girls from other schools, and they can referee the match in between themselves if you don't have referees. I mean, we do that at practice all the time. Okay, and just kind of work through that and give the girls the experience and opportunity to wrestle other girls.
Bud, real quick.
Yes.
Very important, on the district side, I'm telling you, the budget's going to be finalized the next month or 2 with the schools. If you wait beyond that for getting a team in your school, got to wait the next year because the budget's already in. Now's the time to get it in. Get parents united, go to the school administrator and say, we want a team here. If you don't, it's going to be another year.
To be fair, though, that is somewhat facetious. They can reopen the budget if they really want to. They won't, but they can.
Correct.
Do you have a list of
Do it
the
now.
teams, the 13
That's what I'm
teams,
saying.
12 teams?
Do it now. Get
Do you
your
have a list?
parents
Right
united.
now, we had 13 schools, like in the case of Red Clay, the superintendent wrote the letter to cover all the schools in Red Clay, okay? Then we had Smyrna that sent the letter, the principal sent it in. We had CR send it in, Sussex Tech sent it in, Polytech superintendent sent his in. I had the person in charge of Appaquiddick, in charge of student services or whatever, right on the behalf of Appo, Middletown, and Odessa, that they would support girls wrestling.
Red Clay.
So that was Teresa Taylor, I think, was the one who wrote that.
Red Clay.
Red Clay did, they covered 5 or 7.
We have 6 schools that wrestle.
So, I mean, so when we counted, we had 13 that said that they would do it, which was what they originally told us. We need to have 12 schools to say they would support it before we would consider it. And with the support of those letters, Woodbridge also. So with the support of those letters and so forth, the DIA board said, yeah, we need to move forward. And then again, as I put some FAQs here and statements up there, and what I had a presentation to the DIA board about, as Mike said, the opportunities for girls to do it, opportunities to go to college, first time, person in the family to get to college, through possible wrestling scholarships, Title IX issues. I mean, I was pulling out everything I could to try to get them to approve the fact that we wanted to try to make this happen. So, again, I'm open to other questions to try to answer anything that anybody.
Since it was approved as a level 2 sport, are our ADs allowed to add girls wrestling to the list of sports for the schools?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, okay. Now, as I said, it would be up to your district, your school, your athletic director to try to make that happen, okay? I know in the case of Red Clay, DMA, AI, McKean, Charter,
Dickinson.
and Dickinson all said they were going to support it. and the superintendent's gonna support it. So you've got that top official that's gonna try to make sure they have coaches to coach the girls.
As long as our AD is on board with bringing women's wrestling to the business as a sport.
Yes, right. But as I said, I wouldn't jump over the AD because some of them will get pissed off. You want to go talk to them. You want to talk to your boys coach. In your case, you're the boys coach, okay? And say, hey, we really need to do this. We really need to do this, and I need somebody to help manage the girls. So if I can't get a head coach for the girls, I'd like to get another assistant that can manage that. All right. And if they say, well, there's just no money, then can I find a volunteer coach that can come in and do this? Because the volunteers are supposed to be approved by the board to be there and do background checks, all that kind of stuff too, to protect the kids. But again, it's not going to look the same in every district, but we've got to try to push the ball and make it happen. And that's why, as many parents, as many of your friends, other people that are interested, talk to them and say, hey, let's do this. Let's have 4 people go in, talk to the principal, and talk to the athletic director. Say we want to have a meeting about starting a girls' team. We didn't have one. We only had one girl that came out last year.
Oh,
whatever.
VOTEC superintendent also did it.
VOTEC, okay. Right. I mean, so we ended up having more than the 12 schools that were identified that said they would support it. So it was good. Again, anybody else? I mean, I try to answer anything I can. I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate your patience. I hope the FAQs answer a lot of the things that are out there. It gives you the weight classes. The girls get the 2-pound weight allowance like the boys do after Christmas, so on and so forth.
Thank you all for agreeing to be committee members. Appreciate it.
Well, I think some clarity on the committee would be helpful for people to understand what they're coming into, what they're signing up for. I think communication would be huge, especially for new parents. And I mean, Addie's been in it for 4 to 5 years, and I'm still learning so much that if I had known 2 years ago, we would, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like some communication could go a really long way. If it's some kind of document we can put on our Facebook page, this is what the committee looks like. Maybe we can replicate whatever is the boys committee, DIAA.
Yeah, no, the boys committee is DIAA.
Okay, so they have a boys committee?
Yes.
DIAA is, okay.
It's called state
something to replicate,
State
say, okay, this worked for the boys, let's do that for the girls.
Exactly. That's what we
So
need.
we can share what that actually looks like. What they're actually signing up for.
Absolutely. And we'll probably get a rep on our state wrestling committee for the girls, I would think,
Okay.
in the beginning at least.
Yeah, so I think you'll have more
Oh,
interest
sure,
when
yeah.
people know what they're signing up for.
What I want to try to pull
Well,
up here real quick.
We need to get something
is
together.
The
Everybody
DIAA
here,
website.
communicate.
Right.
You've got enough on your plate right now.
Okay, the DIAA website, and what it's going to have, that's not the one I want. Let's see what we got here. Sports governance. Okay, so it talks here about committees. It talks, these are all the regular standing committees. Rules, regulations, sportsmanship officials, football, wrestling, swimming, diving, so on and so on. All right? So, committee nominations and so forth, there are committee application form right here. If you click on it, it's going to ask you your life history, your name, your address, suffix, contact information, your race, employment history, employer. It's going to ask, are you a retiree, yes or no, qualification, professional licenses, high school, years you attended, diploma you got, sports background, are you a former student athlete, did you play in high school, college, what sport, so on and so. And then it's going to ask you at what year, how many years, experience officiating. You just fill in what you can fill in. And then it's going to ask what committee you're interested in joining. Okay? So at this point, if you're interested, and you know you're interested, you can put down here and just put for wrestling. All right? And then what Dia will send me is a list of people that are interested, and we'll continue to work on this. As I said, my goal would be to try to have a committee formed by the end of the summer so that people can really start getting organized. That doesn't mean we can't start working now where people step up and say, look, I'm going to reach out to those states and work on this list of tournaments. So I'll take that off your plate. I will talk to the athletic director in their school and see if he's interested in being on the committee to represent the athletic director's interest. The committee talks, let me go back here, see if I can find it real quick. Okay, there's the wrestling committee here. Okay, it's a standing committee. It's made up of members, okay, that are, it tells you what the purpose of it is. You know, we control and enforce the standards for the officials, administrators, protect the well-being of athletes. The board chairperson appoints the individual as the committee chair. The committee members. So here you can see Joe Arcangelo is a coach from the Blue Hen. Ron Eby retired now. Athletic director Jeff Hughes. Vic Leonard was a former coach, now board member. Steve Lex Laziam. Myself, I'm the chair. Joe LeBozo, state rules interpreter from the officials. Chris Mattiani, Henlopen Conference. Russ Neal, public member. Pete Parlett. Reese Rigby's on there to represent the Iowa State Conference. John Rigby's not on there anymore. I have Matt Bivens, who's the junior high rep, so this needs to be updated. Bill Shediger, Marvin Dooley, and Robert Watson was on there representing the board of directors. Yeah. So again, the committee is made up of various people, and I will try to get something out there on Facebook that talks about the committee membership and breakdown. All right. Enough said. I will say again, I appreciate everybody's time and effort. Drive safely and spread the word. My email, if you want to write it down, if you don't have it, is Buddy, B-U-D-D-Y, Keene, K-E-E-N-E, no dot or no space in between, Buddy Keene @gmail.com.
Did everybody sign in here? If you didn't, on the way out, please do so, and this will be our committee.
So if you have questions, you reach out to me, send me an email, and I will try to respond to you as quick as I can. If anybody wants to take an extra FAQ with them, to give somebody, to share or whatever,